Hello, I am Mukesh. Today I am going to measure blood pressure. Can I know your name and age?
Ajit Kumar, 24 years.
Did you drink any kind of coffee or beverages or smoking before 30 minutes?
No.
The examining room should be quiet and comfortably warm. The patient should sit quietly for 5 minutes in a chair with feet on the floor, and the selected arm should be free of clothing. Next, palpate the brachial artery to confirm a viable pulse and the position of arm so that brachial artery at the antecubital crease is at heart level. Position of the cuff. The arm at heart level, center of inflatable bladder over the brachial artery. The lower border of the cuff should be about 2.5 cm above the antecubital crease. Now estimate the systolic pressure by palpation. As you palpate the radial artery with the fingers of one hand, rapidly inflate the cuff until the radial pulse disappears. Read this pressure on manometer and add 30 mmHg. It also avoids the occasional error caused by an oscillatory gap. The oscillatory gap is a silent interval that may present between systolic and diastolic pressure. And deflate the cuff completely and wait for 50 to 30 seconds. Now place the stethoscope lightly over the brachial artery to hear the crotok of sounds that are in low pitch. Now identify the systolic blood pressure. Inflate the cuff again rapidly at the target level and deflate the cuff slowly at the rate of 2 to 3 mmHg per seconds. This is called systolic blood pressure. Next, diastolic blood pressure. Continue the deflate the cuff slow until the sounds become muffled or disappear. To confirm this disappearance, listen the pressure falls another 10 to 20 mmHg. Then the deflate the cuff rapidly to 0. The both systolic and diastolic blood pressure. Repeat it on another run. Your blood pressure is 120/80. Thank you.
My name is Navita Vibhu Mhatre. I am second year medical student. Today I am going to examine complete eye checkup. First, check each eye separately. Then, to correct the vision using eyeglasses. If the patient with the incorrect visual acuity of less than 20/20 should be examined with the pinhole. To the improvement of vision through the pinhole indicate the error is refractive. Tell the patient to read the letter which is on the chart. Again, repeat the procedure with the another eye. Keep the distance between cell chart and the patient about 20 feet. Now I am giving one card to the patient. Cover your one eye and try to read the letters E, F, P, E, O, Z. Okay. Now cover your other eye and again try to read F, P, E, O, Z. To check your near vision, you have to take this. First close your one eye and then try to read the symbol 9, 5, 8, 7, 4, 2, 8, 4, 3. Okay. Now cover your another eye and again try to read 9, 5, 8, 7, 4, 2, 8, 4, 3. Now please read the sentence. Now tell the patient to read the progressively smallest line of letter until they can go no further. To check a visual field, test both eye together with a wiggle finger test. Position yourself about an arm length away from the patient. Close one eye and have a patient cover opposite eye while staring at your open eye. Place your hand about 2 feet apart from the patient view, roughly lateral to the patient ear. While in this position, wiggle your fingers and slowly bring your moving finger forward into the patient's center of view. Now, kinetic red test target. Facing the patient, move 5 mm red top pin inward from beyond the boundary of each quadrant along the line bisecting the horizontal and vertical meridians. Ask the patient when the pin first appears to be red. Then, ask the patient to state the number of the fingers when they first see moving the target. Stand in front of the patient and survey the eyes for the position and alignment. Inspect the eyebrow, noting their fullness, hair distribution, and any scaliness of the underlying skin. Note the position of the lids in relation to the eyeball. Inspect the width of the palpebral fissure, edema of the lids, color of the lids, and any lesion, and the direction of the eyelashes. With the oblique lightning, inspect the cornea of each eye for opacities. Note any opacities in lens that may be visible through the pupil. Now, ask the patient to look up as you depress both lower lids with your thumb, exposing the sclera and conjunctiva. Inspect the sclera and palpebral conjunctiva for the color. Note the vascular pattern against the white scleral background. In this patient, the sclera is pinkish white. The slight vascularity of the sclera is normal and present in most people. Now examine iris, pupil and lens. While light shining directly into the temporal side, note the iris color, pupillary size, shape and symmetry, and the reaction to the light. Observe the pupil or for the size. Dim the light, ask the patient to look into the distance. Shine a bright light obliquely into the pupil. Observe for the direction, response and indirect. To assess the accommodation reflex, ask the patient to look distance and then at the tip of their nose. For the extraocular movement, examine both eyes simultaneously in this technique. Examiner place himself approximately 1 cm in front of the patient. Ask the patient to look to each side up and down following an edge pattern. Ask the patient to follow a target such as your finger or pen with their eye without moving their head. Pause at the end of each direction, gaze to observe for nystagmus. Ophthalmoscope is used to detect and evaluate the eye disease such as a glaucoma. Ophthalmoscope may also be done if used signs and symptoms to high blood pressure, diabetes or other the disease that affected the blood vessels.
Do the ear examination. So first we are going to check the auricle of the patient, and for checking that we will see the symmetry, and also we will check if there is any inflammation or anything. Do you feel any pain?
No.
Okay. So now we are going to check the ear canal and the tympanic canal. So as we can see that there is no mucus because of secretion or inflammation. So we can say that ear canal and tympanic membrane are all right. Now we are going to do 3 tests, which are first is whisper test. So can you please put one of your arm on your ear? Yeah. So now I am going to whisper 3 letters and we will see that if the patient can respond. So A to M.
A to M.
Okay. So now we are going to do the Rinne test, and for that we are going to use a tuning fork and ask the patient if they feel anything. Can you feel it?
Yes.
Can you feel it?
Yes.
Okay. Now we are going to do the Weber test and we are going to check the sensitivity. So can you hear this?
Yes.
Can you feel this?
Yes.
And this?
Yes.
Okay. So by this test we can conclude that our patient is alright. Thank you.
Good day, doctor. The patient via dentures offer a gauze to remove them. Inspect the inner surface of the lips by retracting them while the teeth are approximated. Now for the buccal mucosa, look in the patient open mouth using a tongue blade. Inspect the buccal mucosa for color, pigmentation, ulcers, patches and nodules. The gums, note the color of the gums, which are normally pink. Brown patches may be present, especially but not exclusively in dark skinned individuals. Inspect the gum margins to assess tooth, jaw or facial pain. Palpate the teeth for looseness and the gums with your gloved thumb and index finger. Inspect the color and the architecture of the hard palate. After retracting the tongue, observe for color and deformities. Ask the patient to open his mouth. Observe for abnormal movements like fasciculation, tremors. Ask the patient to protrude the tongue and observe the following like size, color. Procedure. Observe for abnormal movements like fasciculation, tremors. Ask the patient to say ah for 3 to 4 seconds. This section see the pharyngeal walls. Inspect the neck, noting its symmetry and any masses of scars. Look for enlargement of parotid or submandibular glands. The patient is performed with the examiners in the front or behind the patient. In the front, palpate the posterior cervical spine, mastoid process, trapezius, sternocleidoid mastoid. The lymph node, using the second and third finger pads of the both index and middle finger, move the skin over the underlying tissue in each area rather than moving your finger over the skin. For the lymph nodes, first is preauricular, second is posterior auricular, third is occipital, fourth is tonsillar, fifth is submandibular, sixth is submental, seventh is superficial cervical, eighth is posterior cervical, ninth is deep cervical chain, 10th is supraclavicular. Palpate the trachea for any deviation from its usual midline position by placing your finger along one side of the trachea and note the space between it. The sternocleidomastoid. Thyroid gland. Inspect the thyroid gland with the patient seated. Inspect the anterior lower half of the neck. Tip the patient head slightly back using a tangential light directed downward from the tip of the patient chin. For the palpation, using the cues from the visual inspection, the notches thyroid cartilage and the cricoid cartilage below it locate the thyroid isthmus. Palpating the thyroid gland posterior approach, ask the patient to sip and swallow water. Place the finger of both hand on the patient neck so that your index finger are just below the cricoid cartilage. Feel the thyroid isthmus rising up under your finger pads but not always palpable.
Inspection, stand behind the patient, check for the movement or deformity during expansion and any unilateral lag in movement. And also check for any scar or lesions. So there is no any deformities, scars or lesions noted. Test for chest expansion. Place the thumb at the level of the 10th rib. Tell the patient to breathe in and breathe out. So the chest expansion is normal. To palpate firmitus, use the ball of your hand to palpate and tell the patient to say 99 so I can feel the vibration and firmitus is normal. Now I will be doing the percussion. Tell patient to fold hands. Now I will be percussing downwards until dullness replaces resonance. Please breathe out and hold. Please breathe in and hold. So the diaphragmatic excursion comes under the range of 3 to 5.5, which is normal. Now we will be auscultating. Tell them to cross their hand in front. There is no adventitious sounds like wheezes, crackles or ronchi. Now we will be doing egophony. Tell the patient to whisper E.
E, 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 he, 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 he.
I can hear the long E sound.
He.
Now we will be doing bronchophony. Tell the patient to say 99.
99, 99, 99, 99, 99, 99, 99, 99, 99, 99.
It's normal. Now we will be doing the whisper prectoral loci. So please whisper 99. I can able to hear the whisper sound and we are done with the posterior lung examination. Thank you. Thank you so much, Kiran, for coordinating.
Hello, my name is Dr. Shruti Nanali. May I know your name and age?
Hi, my name is Abraham. My age is 22.
Now I'm going to take your JVP and perform heart examination. For this, you have to remove your shirt, and for that, I have to touch you. Is it okay?
Yes, it's okay.
I can see the highest point of pulsation. Now I'm going to mark the point by using scale. Now I'm going to place another scale at the sternal notch to measure the internal JVP. The reading is 2.5. For this, we need to add 5 centimeters. The reading is from right atrium to the sternal notch. The JVP measured from right atrium to SCM. Now I am going to palpate the carotid artery pulse by using my index middle finger on the right side. I am going to auscultate carotid artery to check bruits. So can you please take deep breath and hold for it a while? I am going to inspect pericardium. I am going to look for apical impulse and any other movements. I am going to palpate your pericardium. By using my finger pads, I am going to palpate hives for rhythms. By using my bony part, I am going to palpate the thrills to identify vibration. I didn't find any rhythms or vibrations. I am going to locate the PMI for this. I am placing my fingers at the fifth intercostal space below the nipple area to palpate apical impulse. Location 5th intercostal space, diameter is 2.5 centimeters, amplitude brisk and tapping, duration first 2/3 of systole. Now I am going to auscultate your heart with diaphragm. I am going to palpate your pulses, radial, brachial. Popliteal, dorsalis pedis, posterior tibule. I'm going to check pitting edema. No sign of any edema. Thank you.
Good evening, myself Sharma Vishmanu and my group is 4B and my OSCE examination is for abdominal examination and now I'm going to proceed with my examination of abdominal. Thank you.
Take the permission from the patient for the physical examination. Inspection describe the abdomen as a symmetry and the skin color, listen and scare marks, appearance of the umbilical that is flattened, inverted or everted, visible pulsation of the epigastric region. Observe the presence of the following abnormality findings: blogging planks and the dilation of superficial blood vessels like capillaries, spider angiomata or veins, pulsation outside of the epigastric region or peristatic waves or the mask presence or not. To listen for the describe of the bulb sound, press the diaphragm firmly to the right lower quadrant and the listen for the gurgling or the bubbling or popping sound. To auscultate for the possible proud. Percussion. Randomly percuss each of the four quadrants to measure the liver spasm. Start at the area of the tympani from below of the lower of the umbilical along the right mid-clavicle line. Percuss upward towards the liver, the mark of the sides where the sound changes from the tympanic of the dullness. This is the lower order of the liver. Start at an area of the resonance just another of the level of the third to fourth intercostal spaces. Right mid-clavicle line just above the level of the third and the fourth intercostal space. Right mid-clavicle line. Percuss down to the mark of the where the sound changes from the resonance to the dullness. This is the upper border of the liver. The total spasm of the normal liver is quite variable depending on the size of the patient. Percussion to the spleen. Percuss along the left mid-axial of the start from an area of the resonance of the 8th intercostal space down to the 11th intercostal spaces. Listen to the dullness. Detect the presence of the ascites. Detect the presence of ascite fluid waves. Ask the patient to present the ulnar side of the one of the both the hands firmly to the midline of the abdomen. Palpation. Prepare for the patient before palpation to the enhancement. Complete muscles relaxation. Keep the palpation hand flat the palate to the abdomen. Ask the patient to breathe slowly in the mouth with the each the tickle person. Palpate the place of the examiner hand over the patient hands as the tiredness disappears slightly with the hand underneath the patient the hand to the palpate directly. Light palpation. Hook technique. This is helpful especially when the patient is obese. Stand on the patient right side and face his feet. Place both hands side by side on the right abdomen below the border of the liver dullness. Hook your finger around the costal margin or below the border of liver dullness and ask the patient.
Hello everyone, my name is Taskir Hussain Khan. I'm a second year medicine student, and in this video I'm going to examine the wrist and shoulders. So make sure you guys watch the video till the end.
Begin the shoulder examination by inspecting the shoulder and shoulder girdle anteriorly. Inspect the scapula and related muscles posteriorly. During both inspections, note any swelling, deformity, muscle atrophy, or fine tremors of the muscles. Palpate for tenderness at the sternoclavicular joint, tracing the clavicle laterally with your fingers. To evaluate the range of motion of the shoulders, ask the patient to perform the 6 motions of the shoulder girdles. These include flexion, where the patient raises his arm in front and overhead. Extension, where he moves his arms behind. Abduction, raising his arms out to the side and overhead. Adduction, crossing an arm in front of his body. Internal rotation, placing a head behind his back to touch his shoulder blade. And external rotation, rotating an arm toward the ceiling from shoulder level. Now, for the direct testing of the 6 muscles to assess the supraspinatus, do the empty can test. Test for function and pain in the infraspinatus with this maneuver. Inspect the patient's wrists and hands, noting any swelling over the joints, as well as any deformities or angulation. Observe the contours of the palm, mainly the thenar and hypothenar eminence. Note any thickening of the tendons or fingers. Palpate the distal radius and ulna on the lateral and medial surfaces of the wrist. To check range of motion of the wrists and hands, begin with flexion and extension. To continue, assess range of wrist movement with adduction and abduction. If there are complaints of wrist pain suggesting carpal tunnel syndrome, test sensation by assessing the median nerve in the pulp of the index finger, the ulnar nerve in the pulp of the 5th finger, and the radial nerve in the dorsal web space of the thumb and index finger. Other tests include hand grip strength. Loss of strength may indicate the Quervain tenosynovitis or inflammation of the thumb extensor, arthritis, and cervical radiculopathy. Make note of any wrist pain with extension of the wrist toward the midline in order deviation or a positive Finkelstein's test for the Quervain tenosynovitis. Perform tests for carpal tunnel syndromes using the thumb abduction. Now, Tinel sign for median nerve compression. And Phelan sign for median nerve compression.
We will be doing cranial nerve examination of 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 6th, and motor examination of lower extremities. So we will first start by asking consent. So are you okay with this?
Yes.
So we will first wash hands. And then we will start by cranial nerve examination of first, olfactory nerve. So do you have any change in sense of smell?
No.
Then we will perform optic nerve examination. We will do visual acuity. E F P T O Z L P E D F E L O P Z D D E F D O T E C. Come here. We will perform pupillary reflexes. It's not consensual in that examination, so that we can check for any pupillary constriction or it is not happening or not, and then do like this. So pupillary reflexes are good, and then we will do oculomotor, trochlear and abducens nerve test. So we will perform this by, so the patient has to follow this needle, so we can check any for nystagmus or not. No, there's no nystagmus, and oculomotor, trochlear nerve and abducens nerves are alright, so no problem in that. And pupillary reflexes are also done, and visual acuity is also done. So we will once again check for single pupil constriction and iris constriction. No, sorry, not iris, pupil constriction only. So there is no problem in cranial nerves of this patient. Then we will start motor examination of the lower extremities. So we will first ask him to stand, keeping hands on the shoulder. Stand like this. No. Keep it, and then sit. Keep legs here. I will come there. Put it. Extend yourself. I will force you and you do like this. Yes. Extension of leg. Do like this. Okay, flexion of this plantar. Extension. You will do flexion of the by yourself. Do. Okay. So abduct that something. Do it again. And you take this with from downwards, and you should walk from here to there. Walk from there to here. So motor examination of this patient is also good. There's no problem in this. His gait, arm swing, balance is all good. Flexion, extension of leg is all good, and he is also able to stand well, balance and walk properly. So the patient is very healthy.
I can feel the contraction in temporalis and masseter. Okay, so now pull your eyebrows up there. Tightly. Okay, now show me your teeth like this.
89, 22,
Second. In the middle. Open your fingers. Now like this. Fingers open. Push, okay? The same. I'll pull it outside, okay? So you just the same with this one. Okay, so I'll push it inside. Okay.
Hello, myself Surendra Lamrod. So now I'm going to examine your cranial nerve 9, 10, 11, 12. That is glossopharyngeal nerve, vagus nerve, accessory nerve, and hypoglossal nerve. So 9 and 10 work together, so supply the musculolateral of the pharynx and transmit visceral afferent information from vascular receptors. So the glossopharyngeal nerve possesses both motor and sensory function. The sensory function receive information from the throat, tonsil, and midline ear and back of the tongue. It is also involved with the sensation of the taste of the back of the tongue. So the cranial nerve 10, the vagus nerve, has a range of function providing sensation and parasympathetic function. The sensation part provides sensation of the outer part of the ear, heart, throat, abdominal, and organ. It is also a role of taste sensation. And the 11th cranial nerve, accessory nerve, so provide motor function to some muscles in the neck. So it controls the sternocleidomastoid and trapezius. So trapezius muscles that allow a person to rotate, extend, and flex in the neck and shoulders. The accessory nerve separate into the spinal and cranial parts. Cranial nerve 12th, hypoglossal nerve, is a motor nerve that supplies the tongue muscles. So the hypoglossal nerve originates the medulla. Disorder of the hypoglossal nerve can cause paralysis of the tongue, most often occurring on the one side. So first I'm going to examine. So first glossopharyngeal and vagus nerve, both motor nerve. So open your mouth and say uvula is centrally pulled up and is normal. So vagus nerve is tested. So again So tongue depressor is applied and same side is so glossopharyngeal nerve is tested. So if uvula is shifted one sided, it is paralysis side. So now cranial nerve 11, accessory nerve. So sternocleidomastoid muscle and trapezius muscles. So come again, yeah, like this. So now lift your shoulder. Okay. So now I palpate sternocleidomastoid muscles. So now is normal. Okay. So now the cranial nerve 12, so hypoglossal nerve. Open your mouth. Just open your mouth. So okay, normally. Also your tongue. Okay, is midline. Okay, and shifted one side. Okay. So now shifted it inside, like. Okay, I palpate your. If you have paralysis like this, is normal. So open your mouth. Now. Okay, this is hypoglossal nerve, so it's normal. So this is normal. So now I examine is done. Cranial nerve 9, 10th and 11, 12. So is my done. Thank you.
Hi, now I'm going to start with the cerebellum and sensory function test. Now this test is called finger nose finger test. Put your right index finger like this, touch my right index finger and touch your nose simultaneously. This test is called rapid movement test. Put your both hands on your knees and flip them over continuously back and forth. Test is called heel to shin test. With the patient supine position, place the left heel onto the right shin just below the knee and slowly accurately run your heel down to the length of the shin to top of the foot. Now this test is called gaze test. I'll let my patient walk back and forth several times across examining room and observe posture and balance and swinging of the arms. And back. Swing your hands. This test is called tandem walking. Please walk placing your one foot directly in front of the other, heel to toe. Now walk on your toes. Now please walk on your heel. Test is called hope in place test, which you have to hope on one foot and place your hands on the hip. Now this test is called shallow knee bend test. Standing with your feet shoulder width apart, clench your buttocks, then slowly bend your knees. This test is called Romberg's test. Stand by keeping your hands aside and your legs closed. Close your eyes. There should be no movement. Now this is sensory function test. This test name is called superficial tactile sensation. With your eyes closed, say yes each time a stimulus is applied. When I touch with cotton, say yes when you sense it. Close your eyes. Can you sense?
Yes.
Can you sense?
Yes.
Safety pin to sense your superficial pain. Tell me when I use blunt or dull points. Close your eyes.
No.
This test is called sensitivity to vibration. I will keep a tuning fork on bony places in your body and let me know when you sense it. Okay?
Yes. 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 Yes.
Can you sense it?
Okay.
Now this test is called position sense test. I am going to move your finger, rotate your finger or move your finger. Let me know in which direction it is, upward or downward.
Up. Down. Side. Up. Up. Down. Up. Down.
Okay. And now your toes.
Up. Down. Down.
This test is called 2-point discrimination. I'll touch with the two pointy ends. Tell me when I touch 2 or 1 times.
2. 1.
This test is called point localization. Feel the sense of my finger and tell me the place.
Finger. Wrist. Elbow.
Now I'm going to do the test graphesthesia. This is where I'll write numbers or letters on your hand. Tell me that alphabet or a number.
1. C.
This test is called extinction phenomenon. Using my both index fingers, I will touch your both sides of identical areas in the body. Let me know if I touch 1 or 2 sides.
2. 2.